What do you leave behind? When your time comes, and it always comes, sooner than we expect, sooner than we deserve. What do you leave in the hands of those you love? Money fades, possessions break. Even memories blur at the edges, worn smooth by the passage of years until we cannot be certain if we are remembering the truth or a story we told ourselves about the truth. But some things last. A lesson taught at exactly the right moment. A principle planted in young soil that grows roots so deep it becomes part of who someone is. A father's voice, echoing across decades, still guiding a son long after the father has gone. This is a story about what Bruce Lee left behind. Not the movies, not the philosophy books, not the martial arts system that changed how the world understood combat. Something smaller, something more precious. A lesson given to an 8-year-old boy in a backyard in Los Angeles. 7 seconds that made a child feel untouchable. A gift from a father who did not know he had only months left to live, to a son who would carry that gift until his own tragic end 20 years later. This story might have happened exactly as I am about to tell it. The timeline works. The people are real. The setting is documented. Bruce Lee did train his son Brandon. They did spend hours together in the backyard of their Bel Air home. A father teaching a child, a master passing wisdom to the next generation. What words were spoken? What lessons were taught? History did not record those details. But I believe some conversations are so important that they echo through time whether they were documented or not. They leave fingerprints on the lives they touched. And if we look carefully at what Brandon Lee became, the way he moved, the way he fought, the way he carried himself, we can see the shape of those conversations even if we cannot hear the words. So come with me to a backyard in Los Angeles, 1973. Come watch a father teach his son something that cannot be taken away. And understand that what you are witnessing is not just a martial arts lesson. It is love translated into movement. It is legacy planted in a child's heart. It is everything a father hopes his son will remember when the father is no longer there to remind him. The backyard was quiet except for birdsong. Bruce Lee stood on the grass, barefoot, watching his son try to punch him. Brandon was 8 years old, small for his age, with his father's intense eyes and his mother Linda's gentle features. He was throwing punches with the determined concentration of a child who desperately wanted to impress the most important person in his world. None of the punches were landing. Not because Bruce was dodging dramatically or using his famous speed. He was barely moving at all. Just small shifts, tiny adjustments, the minimal effort required to be somewhere slightly different than where Brandon expected. "Daddy, hold still." Brandon's voice carried the frustration of a child encountering an impossible problem. Bruce smiled. "I am holding still. My feet have not moved. But I can't hit you." "No. You cannot." "Do you know why?" Brandon stopped punching, his small chest heaving with effort. He thought about it seriously, the way children do when they sense that a question contains something important. "Because you're faster than me?" "No. You are very fast for your age. Speed is not the problem." "Because you're bigger?" "I am bigger. But size is not the problem either." Brandon's brow furrowed. He was genuinely puzzled, which was exactly where Bruce wanted him to be. The mind that is confused is the mind that is ready to learn. "I give up. Why can't I hit you?" Bruce knelt down so he was at eye level with his son. This was important. Some lessons required the teacher to meet the student where they were. "Because you are trying to hit me, and trying to hit me means you are thinking about me, where I am, what I am doing, how to reach me. Isn't that what I'm supposed to do?" "It is what most people do, but it is backwards." Bruce placed a hand on Brandon's small shoulder. "When you think about me, you give me power over you. Your mind is here." He pointed at his own chest. "When it should be here." He moved his finger to point at Brandon's chest. At the boy's heart. "I don't understand, Daddy." "I know. Let me show you something. If you are a parent, or if you remember being a child learning something important from someone who loved you, take a moment to like this video and subscribe. Because what happens next is the kind of moment that shapes entire lives. Bruce stood and walked a few feet away from his son. He settled into a relaxed stance, nothing formal, just a father facing a child across a patch of California grass. I am going to teach you something that took me many years to learn. Something that most martial artists never understand. Are you ready? Brandon nodded eagerly, his earlier frustration replaced by curiosity. The lesson is this: do not control me. Control space. Control space. Yes, right now, when you try to hit me, you are chasing me. You see where I am and you go there. But by the time you arrive, I have gone somewhere else. You are always one step behind because you are reacting to me instead of controlling the space between us. He held up his hands, creating an invisible boundary in the air. But what if you did not chase me? What if instead you controlled the space itself? Made certain areas dangerous for me to enter? Forced me to move where you wanted me to move? Brandon was listening with the intense attention that children bring to things they sense are important. How do I do that? By changing what you think about. Stop thinking about hitting me. Start thinking about the space around you. Not as empty air but as territory. Your territory. Territory that you control. Bruce began to move slowly, circling his son, demonstrating as he spoke. When you punch, do not punch at me. Punch into the space. Claim that space as yours. I must either be somewhere else, or I must walk into your territory and face consequences. But if I'm not punching at you, how do I ever hit you? You do not hit me. You control the space, and I hit myself by entering it. Bruce smiled at the confusion on Brandon's face. I know this sounds strange. Let me show you. Face me again. Brandon settled into something resembling a fighting stance. His small fists raised the way his father had taught him. Now, I want you to punch, but not at me. Punch at the space in front of you. Claim that space. Make it yours. Do not worry about where I am. Just punch and own where your fist goes. Brandon hesitated, uncertain. Punching at nothing felt wrong. Felt like missing on purpose. Trust me, Bruce said softly. Try it. Brandon punched. Not at his father, but at the air in front of him. His small fist shot out and claimed a piece of space. And something strange happened. Bruce, who had been moving slowly to the right, suddenly stopped. His path would have taken him directly through the space Brandon had just claimed. If he had continued, he would have walked into the punch. Did you see that? Bruce asked. Brandon's eyes widened. You stopped. I had to stop. You were not chasing me anymore. You were controlling where I could go. You made that space dangerous. I had to respect it. But I wasn't even trying to hit you. Exactly. And that is why it worked. Bruce knelt again, his face close to his son's. When you chase me, I have all the power. I can go anywhere and you will follow. But when you control space, you take the power back. I have to move around your territory. I have to go where you allow me to go. Brandon was beginning to understand. Not fully, he was 8 years old and some lessons take decades to mature. But a seed was being planted. A seed that would grow into something magnificent. Can we try again? Brandon asked. Yes, but this time I want you to do something different. I want you to throw punches, not at me, but at the spaces around you. Claim territory. Build walls of danger. And watch what happens to me. Brandon raised his fists again. This time his eyes were different. He was not looking at his father. He was looking at the space itself, seeing it as something he could own. He began to punch. Not at Bruce. At the air. At the territory. Each strike was a claim, a statement. This space is mine now. And Bruce began to move differently. He was no longer casually shifting away from a child's attacks. He was navigating. Finding paths through the spaces Brandon had not yet claimed. Moving more carefully, more deliberately, with a respect that had not been there before. Good, Bruce said, still moving, still evading, but having to work for it now. You feel it, don't you? You are not chasing anymore. You are hurting. You are controlling where I can go. Brandon did feel it. Something had shifted. He was no longer the pursuer, he was the architect. Building a maze of danger that his father had to navigate. And then something magical happened. Brandon threw a punch that he did not aim at his father. He aimed it at a space to his left, claiming that territory. But Bruce, moving to avoid a previous claim, stepped directly into it. The small fist touched Bruce's hip. Just a touch. Gentle. No force at all. But contact. Brandon froze, his eyes going wide. "Daddy, I hit you." Bruce smiled, and in his smile was something that looked like pride. The deep, glowing pride of a father watching his child understand something important. "No. You controlled space, and I walked into your territory." Brandon looked at his own fist as if seeing it for the first time. 7 seconds of punching at nothing, and he had touched the untouchable. Does this work on everyone? It works on everyone who is moving. Every person who attacks, who chases, who tries to reach a target. They can all be hurted by someone who controls space instead of chasing bodies. Bruce sat down on the grass and patted the spot beside him. Brandon sat, his small body vibrating with the excitement of discovery. "Let me tell you a secret," Bruce said. "Most fights are not won by the person who hits harder or moves faster. They are won by the person who controls the space between the fighters, who makes their opponent move where they want them to move, who turns the entire area into a trap that the other person walks into. Is that how you win your fights? That is how I try to win all of my fights. In the movies and in real life, I do not chase people. I control where they can go. And then I am always where I need to be because I decided where that would be before they ever moved." Brandon absorbed this, his young mind working to hold onto something he sensed was precious. "Will you teach me more?" Bruce looked at his son, and something flickered in his eyes. Something that might have been knowledge or fear or the terrible awareness that visits parents sometimes. The awareness that our time with our children is not guaranteed. "I will teach you everything I can," Bruce said. "Every day that I can. For as long as I can." He pulled Brandon into a hug, holding the boy tight against his chest. "But here is the most important thing, Brandon. More important than any technique. More important than controlling space or speed or power. What is it? Remember that you are loved. No matter where I am. No matter what happens. You are loved completely. Without limit. Forever." Brandon hugged his father back, not understanding why the moment felt so heavy, why his father's voice had thickened, why this lesson had turned into something that felt like goodbye. "I love you too, Daddy. I know you do." Bruce pulled back and looked at his son's face, memorizing it, holding on to this moment as if he could make it last forever. "Now, shall we practice some more? I want to see you control space like a master." Brandon jumped up, eager to continue. "Yes, I want to hit you again." "Not hit me," Bruce corrected, smiling. "Control space until I walk into your territory." "Same thing." "No. Completely different thing. But you will understand the difference someday." They trained until the sun began to set, father and son, moving across the grass like dancers, playing a game of territory and control that looked like play but was actually something much deeper. A transmission, a legacy, a gift given from one generation to the next. For months later, Bruce Lee was dead. A cerebral edema took him without warning, without mercy, without giving him the chance to say a proper goodbye. He was 32 years old. He had been a father for 8 years. It was not nearly long enough. Brandon was at a friend's house when he learned the news. He did not understand it at first. Death is an abstraction to 8-year-olds, something that happens to strangers and old people, not to fathers who seem invincible. But as the days passed, as the house filled with mourners and the television showed footage of the father he would never see again, the reality settled in. Heavy, final, unacceptable but undeniable. His father was gone. The lessons, though, remained. If this moment is touching something in you, if you understand what it means to carry the lessons of someone who is no longer there to teach, please take a moment to subscribe to this channel. Because what Brandon did with that lesson is the rest of the story. The years that followed were complicated. Growing up as Bruce Lee's son meant carrying expectations that no child should have to carry. Every move Brandon made was compared to his father. Every role he sought was shadowed by a legend he could never escape. But he also carried something else. Something that could not be compared because no one else had it. He carried the lessons from the backyard. When Brandon Lee began training seriously in martial arts, his teachers noticed something unusual. He did not fight like other students. He did not chase opponents or try to overwhelm them with combinations. He moved differently, more strategically, as if he was playing chess while others played checkers. Control space, he would mutter to himself during sparring sessions, a mantra inherited from a father he barely got to know. When he began working in films, the same principle applied. His fight choreography had a quality that other action stars struggled to match. Not just speed or power intelligence. Spatial intelligence. The ability to make every movement meaningful because it controlled where opponents could go. Directors noticed but could not explain it. Co-stars felt it but could not name it. Audiences saw it and assumed it was natural talent, the genetic gift of being Bruce Lee's son. Brandon knew the truth. It was not genetics. It was a lesson, taught in a backyard, remembered through decades. My father taught me that fighting isn't about hitting people, Brandon told an interviewer in 1992. It's about controlling the space between you and the other person. Make them move where you want them to move. Then you're not fighting. You're just waiting for them to make a mistake. The interviewer nodded, not fully understanding. He taught me that when I was 8, Brandon continued, in our backyard. Took me years to really understand what he meant. But now, he paused, and something flickered in his eyes, something that looked like his father. Now it's the foundation of everything I do. 1 year later, Brandon Lee was dead. A prop gun malfunction on the set of The Crow. A death so cruel in its irony that it seemed almost scripted. The son of a martial arts legend, killed not in combat but by an accident. By a gun that was supposed to be harmless. By a moment that should have been safe. He was 28 years old. He had been training for 20 years. He had finally found his voice, his career, his place in a world that had always expected too much from him. And then he was gone, like his father, before his time, without warning. But the lesson survived. The lesson always survives. Today, when martial artists speak of spatial control, they often trace the concept back to Bruce Lee. But the purest expression of that teaching was not in Bruce's films or philosophy books. It was in his son, who carried it for 20 years and embodied it until his final day. Control space. 2 words that contain a universe of understanding. Do not chase what you want. Create the conditions where what you want must come to you. Do not react to others. Make others react to you. Do not fight the world. Shape the world so that fighting becomes unnecessary. This is what Bruce Lee left behind. Not just films and techniques and a philosophy that changed martial arts forever. A lesson. A moment in a backyard that rippled forward through time and continues to ripple still. I want to leave you with something. Not a question this time. A request. If you have children, or if you ever have children, remember this. You do not know how much time you have. No one knows. Bruce Lee did not know that he had 4 months left with his son. Brandon Lee did not know that he had 1 year left with the world. Time is not promised. It is only borrowed. So teach what matters. Teach it now. Teach it clearly. Plant seeds that will grow roots so deep that even death cannot pull them out. Control space. But more importantly, fill the space you control with love. With lessons. With moments that your children will carry long after you are gone. That is the only immortality any of us actually achieve. Not fame. Not fortune. Not legacy carved in stone. The lessons we leave in the hearts of those who come after us. Bruce Lee taught his 8-year-old son to control space. 7 seconds later, Brandon looked untouchable. And for 20 years after that, until his own tragic end, Brandon carried his father with him everywhere he went. In his movement, in his principles, in the 2 words that shaped everything he did. Control space. The dragon taught the little dragon. And even though both are gone now, the lesson remains. For anyone willing to learn it. Thank you for watching. Thank you for witnessing this small, precious moment between a father and son who did not have enough time together. If the story moved you, please subscribe. Not for entertainment, for more conversations about what we leave behind. about the lessons that matter more than any technique, about the love that outlasts everything. Control space, but first, fill that space with something worth controlling.